When you look back on 2025, I want you to think for a second, what worked? What didn't work? And then where did you feel the friction? In every organization, there is a constraint. There's multiple problems, but there's one constraint. When you fix that one constraint, typically everything else is easier to fix.
Welcome to Profits and Pints, where strategy meets great conversation and real-world action. I'm Samantha Doyle. Grab a drink, settle in, and let's dive into this month's big idea.
Today, we're gonna focus on what can you do to really focus on winning 2026. And when I say win, I really mean be intentional. How can you be intentional on growing your business in 2026? The way that you're gonna do that is by eliminating a constraint in your business. When you look back on 2025, and when I say look back, we're still in it, right? But we're almost there. I want you to think for a second, what is working? Or what worked? What didn't work? What was not working? What was driving you up a wall this last year? And then where did you feel the friction? In every organization, there is a constraint. And there may be multiple things that are driving you crazy, right? There's normally more than one thing that maybe keeps you up at night. But there's normally one major constraint in every organization. There's multiple problems, but there's one constraint. When you fix that one constraint, typically everything else is easier to fix. And the constraint changes over time, but what you want to really think about is what is the one constraint in your business right now? That if you can fix that thing, everything else will be easier to fix. There's four main categories I want you to think about. The first one is sales and marketing. Consistently attracting and converting the right customers. As I go through these four options here, think about which one you think your constraint is in, essentially, which bucket. How this shows up is unpredictable leads, stalled sales, heavy owner or salesperson dependency. If you're getting leads in, people are calling you constantly, this is probably not your constraint. If you're relying on your salesperson or you as the owner to go and get sales constantly and you're chasing leads because you're not getting enough incoming calls, this could potentially be your constraint. What this could look like in a small business, no consistent lead generation, you're relying only on referrals, and maybe your messaging is unclear. In a larger organization, this could be rep-to-rep inconsistency. So if you have more than one rep, there's consistency on the different reps producing different types of results. Channel dependencies, depending on certain channels for the sales to be coming in, and maybe there's a weak market differentiation. The question is, if your demand doubled in the next year, would your pipeline hold up? If the demand was there, would the leads continue to come in? The next one is operations and delivery. Are you able to deliver consistently, efficiently, and at scale? So how this really shows up is there's delays, there's a lot of rework happening, bottlenecks in operations a lot. And maybe there's overloaded teams. The teams feel really overloaded if operations is your constraint. So in a small business, maybe there's no processes or the owner is bottlenecked a lot of times. And there's constant scrambling. In larger organizations, the throughput issues, it's hard to say, slow handoffs. Things are getting stuck in certain departments and it's not moving like it should. Inconsistent performance between the teams. And the question here is, if delivery increased by 50 to 100% in the next quarter, what would break first? So if you feel like, okay, great, if we had all these leads coming in, if you doubled the amount of leads that were able to come in, you'd be like, no way. There's no way that my operations team could handle that. That might be your constraint. Third one, people and leadership. Aligning, empowering, and holding your team accountable. This one really comes when there's role confusion or there's decision bottlenecks on who is making what decisions. And leadership fatigue. A lot of times the leadership team, especially in a larger organization, is fatigued by it because they're tired of people not listening or they're tired of people not doing what they're supposed to be doing. In small businesses, the owner is making all the decisions. It's really hard to delegate, and hiring is really reactive. It's like, oh my gosh, we need to hire because someone just left, or oh my gosh, we need to hire because we just got this new contract, or whatever it is. It's very reactive. It's not a proactive process. In a larger organization, there's very weak middle management typically, or no middle management. And there's very competing priorities and slow execution. So it's like, okay, we have all these great ideas, we're gonna be doing this, and then it's like, okay, we've been talking about this for 6 months and it actually still hasn't happened yet. So the question here is everyone rowing in the same direction at the same pace? Are we all on the same team here? Are we all moving in the same direction, the same pace? If any of this resonates with you, that might be your constraint. And the fourth one, definitely not the least one, is cash and systems. Are you funding growth and running on timely, accurate data? And I put cash and systems together because a lot of times they go hand in hand. This can show up with cash stress, especially if your accounting team is constantly double checking the PO box maybe to see if checks came in, with a slow accounts receivable or accounts payable, and then system gaps. Maybe this technology systems, or maybe just the processes in general. There's system gaps. So in a small business, this can be cash surprises, like, oh crap, we have this big bill, but we don't have enough cash to actually pay this bill. There's no weekly KPIs. You're not tracking any KPIs on a weekly basis. And your pricing is outdated, meaning you haven't updated your pricing in a while. In a larger organization, typically this means you have a lot of different systems and they're not integrated. Like you have your sales department in one system, and you have your operations in another system, and you have your accounting team in another system, but they don't actually talk to each other. When you want data, you have to talk to the different departments to get the data, and then they don't match. Happens all the time. Slow reporting, because of the reason I just said, and therefore slow decisions. I was working with an organization that had this exact same problem, different systems in different departments, and they were slow to make decisions because they would say, well, I need this report to make the decision, and then they wouldn't trust the report because this report said one thing and this report said another thing, and they didn't match because they were coming from different systems, and then they didn't trust the report. It was a mess, right? You don't want that. And then margin erosion. And so obviously your margins are having a lot of issues as well when this becomes an issue. And so the question really becomes, do you have real-time visibility into your financial health? So when we talk about these three, and I'll go through them all again, so sales and marketing, operations and delivery, people and leadership, cash and systems. Think about in your business right now, which of those four buckets would you think is your biggest constraint right now? One thing to help you is if your business doubled in the next year, which constraint would break first? What's the first thing that would break? That is your constraint. Great, you figured it out. Now what? You're like, all right, Samantha, this is awesome. Now what do I do? Constraints persist because of a couple things. A lot of times it's misalignment. There's lack of accountability in the company and misalignment of where you're actually going. Okay, so where are you going, and accountability on where you're going. And you need both parts in order to fix the issue. Too many priorities is another problem. Sometimes you have too many things going on at one time and not enough focus on what the constraint actually is. So we're talking about there's surface problems, but the root issue is way down here, and we're not actually paying attention to the root issue. A lot of times when we talk about it, somebody might say, well, the issue is really operations. But when we get down to it, the constraint issue is actually cash. It happens all the time where people are like, we need to get more work. Or you know what, actually a better example is sales and marketing. They're like, sales and marketing is the issue. We need more sales, we need more sales, we need more sales, we need more sales. But you know what? It's not sales. The problem was cash. And the entire reason that they're pushing for sales is because they're struggling with paying their bills. And the root issue was actually cash. So you have to get to the root cause of what the constraint actually is to make sure that you're solving the correct issue first. Whatever that issue is, that's going to be kind of a domino effect to help solve the other issues. Even though you may think you have the right constraint right now, double check and make sure that's actually the right constraint. How do you remove the constraint? Alignment and accountability. I'm going to show you this little matrix here. Once you have your constraint, you want to understand, is it a strategy problem, is it an execution problem, or is it both? So let's say you have your constraint and it's operations. When you look in your operations department, let's say, and even if you're a small business, there's still a department. It may be you, but that's okay. Do you have a clear strategy on how the operations are going to function? That's your first question that you have in that category. If you have a strong strategy on how it's going to work, but you're not executing on that strategy, then you're missing the momentum. If you don't have a strong strategy and you're missing execution, well, that's just chaos. If you have a weak strategy and you're executing on it, you're like, all right, we're executing on what? What are you executing on? You don't know. You're not clear on what the strategy is, then you're busy, but you're aimless. What you want to do is you want to get really clear on what the strategy of the entire organization is, and then how that strategy disseminates into the different departments or different areas of your business. Clear strategy, clear execution. And a lot of times what I see in organizations is that it's not actually both. Sometimes they're actually doing a really good job of one of these, but they're not good at the other thing. I had a strategy day with one of my clients. They live in Spokane. I fly to Spokane every single quarter to meet with them. And the CEO loves strategy. He is like all about it. Every time we meet all day, he's like, we're gonna work on strategy all day. That's what we're gonna do. I've been working with them for a year and a half. I had to have kind of a heart-to-heart with him. I wrote on the board, I said, these are all the strategic thinking things that we've done in the last year and a half. Isn't this amazing? These are all the strategy tools we've done. And he's like, yeah, it's amazing. I'm like, and here are the things you've executed on. And he's like, ooh, yeah. And it's amazing that we've strategized and strategized and strategized. We are so clear on his customer, on his ideal customer. We are so clear on his go-to-market strategy. We are so clear on his marketing strategy. We are so clear on so many things, but he hasn't executed on anything. That's what you have to understand for yourself. Do you have a clear strategy, and are you executing on it in the confounds of the constraint? Is there any questions on that? Does that make sense? Is that helpful? When you have alignment and you have accountability, the alignment is that clear direction, priority clarity, and unified leadership. So the other part of the alignment is not just you having the clear strategy. It's making sure your team understands it. So you have the clear strategy, but have you clearly explained that strategy and gotten buy-in from your team? Does your team have buy-in on that strategy? Because if you don't, that's not alignment. Because that's part of it as well. You need to get buy-in from them as well. And the accountability piece is, okay, you're executing, but are they executing on the strategy? And are you holding them accountable to it? Do you have metrics on it? Do you have some kind of meeting rhythm to keep everyone on track with those things? You see how just doing these two things in one area of your business could make a huge difference? The one that's struggling the most. For 2026, what I want you to do is think about your one constraint. Because if you could just take your one constraint, just the one, nothing else, and figure out what one priority for Q1, just say Q1. So let's say it's sales and marketing. If it's sales and marketing, maybe you don't have a clear strategy. What's something that you could do if an organization doesn't have a clear sales and marketing strategy? Anybody? Yeah.
What about the unified mission statement?
Unified mission statement. I love it. That's great. What else? Yeah.
Hire a consultant.
Hire a consultant. I know someone. Okay. Yeah, I love it. To get even more specific on it is maybe create a sales lead funnel. If it's like a smaller business, just create one lead funnel for your business to get really clear on how you're going to get them. Yeah.
So you can just audit existing clients and just think backwards, how did we get them? What brought them here in the first place?
Right.
And reverse engineer that at scale.
I love that. I love that. And then create something to get more of them, right? What about operations? Let's say that it's operations execution. What's an idea? What's one priority that you could do in a quarter that would help with that? Yeah.
Establishing SOPs.
Establishing SOPs. Love that. Easy. What about cash and system strategy?
Rob a bank.
I'm recording, okay? We'll talk about it later. I'm just kidding. No, that's great. Cash and system strategy. Anybody else? How would you come up with strategy for cash and systems?
Financial software.
Financial what, sorry?
Software.
Financial software, maybe you need a new software. Yes, I love that. Maybe it's your whole tech stack needs to be updated. This is where you start to get into the tactical. When you identify your constraint and you identify whether it's strategy or execution, if it's both, pick one first, okay? And I would say strategy first, probably, right? You need a strategy before you execute on it. Then execute on just that one. And I'm telling you nothing else because it's a domino effect. Once you can figure out the biggest constraint and you can fix that one thing and put all of your focus on that one thing, everything else is going to be easier. Now, we are all business owners, or most of us are business owners, and we know that business ownership is not easy. I'm not promising you the moon here, okay? But I can tell you that if you do this every single quarter, every single year, life will be easier. Because all you're doing is you're saying, what is the number one thing? What is the one thing that I need to fix? Nothing else matters right now. I only need to focus on this one thing, and it's going to make everything else easier. And that is how you plan to win 2026. Okay, biggest constraint. Once you have it, strategic priority to remove it. Who's going to own it? Is it you, or is it someone on your team? Who's owning that priority? And then come up with a leading indicator. How are you going to measure the progress over the entire quarter? I want you to have some kind of metric that you can measure it over the entire quarter. And then what does success look like if it's Q1, March 31st? So here's some examples. For a small business, the constraint is marketing. The priority that they came up with is to build one consistent lead engine. And so the owner is the owner in this case, okay? The leading indicator is a weekly qualified leads. They're going to measure how many qualified leads they get every single week. And the success by March 31st, is they want 8 qualified leads per week consistently. That's how they know that they were successful. Simple, right? For a larger organization example, their constraint was operations. Their priority was to reduce the cycle time by 20%. The owner of this is the director of operations. And the leading indicator is they're going to track the weekly throughput per crew or department. And the success is a 20% cycle time reduction consistently maintained. So they're tracking this, and they can see by the end of the quarter whether that's been achieved. Turn to someone near you, share what's your constraint, is it strategy or execution, and what is your Q1 strategic priority? Take a second. Does anybody want to share? Anybody willing to share what they came up with?
Well, we have a Airbnb management company. The best one in town.
Okay, best one in town, guys, in case you didn't know.
And we want it to grow, and there's a couple of different ways. One way is to acquire another business and also to grow on our own, and our biggest constraint is definitely cleaning it. So how are we going to make sure that we have our team in place to take care of these and to have the right mindset? And so I have a list of different things that we can do to help encourage that. Also, rehiring new cleaners that to replace those that haven't been working. But I think we have a great list of how to expand, definitely expand, so that we can handle big growth. And that's what we want to be able to do.
So you need to create the machine in order to handle the big growth.
Right, yeah.
Around the team.
Exactly.
So is it training the team?
So it's training.
You need an employee journey.
Right, you're exactly correct. So it's how, to even get them through the process of hiring. So how are we going out there? And Dan was great to help me understand, not just going out there, and friends and family are great, but no, what we need to do is actually use a company like Indeed, make it serious, and so that when people apply, they know. And we're also changing our pay structure to actually make it more incentive driven, and then the training that's involved with it. And I feel like putting an agreement out there, it's almost like having a mission statement, this is what we do. Because I personally, it's not just a cleaner. I'm in the hospitality business. And so I want people who are hospitality driven and care driven. I don't clean houses, I care for houses.
Couple suggestions. This is going to help. And you can come to me afterwards because I can't remember the name of the author right now and it's going to drive me crazy. You need an ideal employee profile. That's what you need. And then you need to create an employee journey. And the employee journey, there's a book, and he does the customer journey, and I cannot think of his name right now. It's going to drive me crazy. Yeah, he does a customer journey and he does an employee journey. But if you identify, it's like having an ideal client, right? But you do an ideal employee, and you come up with a profile for that person. And then you come up with the entire employee journey, and it comes up with a pay structure, and you come up with the hiring process, or the recruiting process, the hiring process, the pay structure. That's the entire thing. Now, you may not get that all done in one quarter, okay? But this is strategy. This is strategy. This is something that happens. A lot of people focus on the execution, and they don't get the strategy right. But if you really, really focus on this strategy, and you spend a little extra time focusing on the strategy before you execute, I promise you it will pay off. Get really, really clear on who this ideal one is. I have a client, the one in Spokane actually, the hair nurses, and we spent a lot of time trying to get their ideal nurse down. It took us about 6 months to get the ideal nurse down, and we had to adjust and adjust and adjust and adjust and adjust. We finally got it right. We completely revamped their pay structure. We actually changed nurses to commission only, if you can believe it, and we did it successfully. We had mass exodus. It was kind of on purpose. And they completely hired a whole new staff of nurses. And it's been 6 months since then, and they could not be happier. And it was hell in that 6 months, I'm not gonna lie, but they knew it, and they knew it was going to happen like that. And now every single one of their nurses is so happy, making way more money than the previous nurses were because they're on this commission base. They can work when they want to. All their customers are happy. It's just, it's night and day to what there were. But it was because we focused so heavily on this ideal nurse, and it took us a long time to get there, but it was totally worth it. Sorry, I went off on that. Obviously, I'm passionate about that, okay, guys? You can tell. But I love that. I love that for you guys. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else wants to share?
He gave me some good ideas.
Yeah? I love it. Give it to me. I want to hear it.
So my biggest struggle is leadership.
Okay.
Getting leadership in, and he was giving me ideas of where to steal people with with experience.
Another pond. Steal someone else's pond. I love this. Yes.
All about stealing talent.
Oh yeah. Oh please do.
100%.
Yeah. Well, hey, they're not happy anyways, guys. Okay, go ahead.
They could be happier.
Oh, they could be happier. You find another pond to fish in. That's what you do, right? And this is something that I've learned along the way in a lot of my trainings is that you almost don't want to hire someone that's already in the industry because then you have to untrain them. Right? You have to untrain them. But if you hire someone that's in an industry that's similar enough, right? Similar enough that they have the basic skill set, but different enough that you don't have to untrain them. It's called another pond. You hire from someone else's pond, and if you can find the pond that you can continuously fish from, and you're just pulling the fishes. So there's a story of this company in Ireland that was a garbage truck company. Garbage pickup or whatever. And they found their ideal employee. It's a little bit different, right? But their ideal employee they found was bodybuilders because they're on the back of the truck, right? And they were getting a workout, picking up the trash and whatever, right? And they had a couple employees that were a part of a gym. And so they realized by interviewing their employees that their ideal employee were bodybuilders. So they put out these ads saying, hey, want to get a workout while you're getting paid? Right? And so they created this huge community of bodybuilders who worked for the trash company, right? They created a gym at the office, like all of this different type of stuff, right? That's a pond. They found a pond of people that were at a bodybuilding whatever, and there was a bunch of people who were working at the gym that they stole. They stopped working at the gym because guess what? The people working at the gym weren't able to work out at the gym. They were having to work at the gym, and so now they could work out while they were working at the trash place. So anyways, that's great. I love that. Got to find your other pond. So this has been great. You guys have been awesome. We are not doing a December one. I know you're so sad. I know. If you want to hang out with me, just tell me. We can hang out. Okay, guys. So we're not going to do one in December. Enjoy your holidays. We are going to pick it right back up in January. Don't worry. I'll be back. Watch for your emails. I'll be sending that out. I have not picked my date yet. Not next week, because next week's Thanksgiving. But the week after that, I'm doing my Acquisition Ready Masterclass. So if anyone's interested, please let me know. So this is on Zoom, 2 sessions, 2 hours each. Basically what this is, and we talked about it at the last one if you were here, but it's really about creating your buy box, right? So if you were wanting or interested in growing through acquisition at all, this is really about saying, okay, if I want to grow through acquisition, what is my buy box look like? So you're not looking willy-nilly at all sorts of different kinds of businesses. You're saying, this is the strategy. This is my growth through acquisition strategy. That's what we're going to be doing during this Acquisition Ready Masterclass. Whew, man, that's meaningful. And I'm going to be giving one away today. So let's see. Get your tickets out. 1679298. Is it you? Yeah! Woohoo! Okay. Let me know afterwards. I'll make sure to get your information so I can send it over to you. And then that's all I have for today, guys. So hang out, relax, please eat some food. I don't need to take it all home with me. Have some drinks. We have the bar for a little while, and thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. you guys.
Thanks for joining us at Profits and Pints. If you enjoyed this session, we'd love your feedback. Just click the link to fill out the quick survey. Your input helps shape future topics and makes this experience even better. Until next time, cheers to smart moves and great conversation.